The story is purely a work of fiction. Any resemblance to any incident, person, or place is absolutely unintentional and coincidental. This person is not often seen in broad daylight. He is a peculiar person. He rarely gets out of his house unless he has to visit the library or at the university. He is presently working on his master's thesis and is an unsocial, bookworm type of creature. He is scarcely exposed outside the world of study. Suddenly, something caught his attention. On the other side of the road, a small crowd had gathered. Against his general indifferent nature, he went to see what had happened. To his surprise and dismay, he found that a young lady was lying on the street. She was bleeding profusely. Her dress appeared to be some sort of an uniform, but she had no bags or purse or any other thing with her. She was evidently some foreigner. He called the ambulance and took her to the nearest hospital. Her hairs and jacket were blood-stained. He went to the reception, but since she was a stranger, he could not provide any details. Since it seemed to be an accident, the on-duty police officer did some routine inquiry and went out. Oh yes, let me tell you, this is Mr. Aryan. From the reception, he made a phone call at his house to his mother, informing he would be a little late for home. This was a rare incident, so the mother was a little surprised. Since he admitted the girl to the hospital, he was handed over a prescription. He went out and brought the prescribed medicines from the medical store. After signing some formalities, he had to wait there. Almost 2 hours later, he was allowed to see her. Her head and parts of her face were bandaged. She could not speak, but she very feebly kept staring. Her shirt had been removed and she was in a patient's apron. He discovered her identity card, which reads, After an eventful afternoon and evening, Aryan returned home. For a bookworm like Aryan, it was too much of an event. Very briefly, he narrated his experience of the evening. He refreshed himself, had dinner, and then retired to his study. Important books, notes, and journals that had been waiting for him were set aside, and he started writing a diary entry of that eventful evening. Leah recovered senses the next afternoon. She understood that it was a hospital. She asked the attendant who admitted her. The attendant said that the person was waiting outside to see her. The visiting hours were on, and Aryan and his mother came to visit her. She could not speak much, but she thanked them cordially for their assistance. The doctor said she was out of danger, but she will have to be under strict medical supervision for at least 15 more days. Since she was an officer at the Red Cross, the office was informed and representatives came to see her there. They also thanked Aryan, and Aryan handed them the identity card. Aryan and his mother kept visiting her for the next few days. Now she could speak. She said that she was going to join her office. On the way, she drew some money from an ATM, and just before the ATM counter, some miscreants tried to snatch her purse. When she resisted, somebody gave her a push from behind and she fell on the pavement, and consequently she received some injuries at the back of her head. And they might have had taken her purse, bag, and other belongings. Both his mother and Aryan assured that they were with her, and he felt sad for her. They returned home and felt ashamed that a person from a far off place has come to serve their nation, and there are miscreants who gave her such treatment. It somehow pained them. They decided to ask her to spend a few days with them, but they were not sure whether there were any protocol of her office against such proposals. Time moved on, and after 15 days, when she was ready to be discharged from the hospital, the new friends, Aryan and his mother, came to see her at the hospital. A little hesitantly, they proposed her to spend the next few days with them, since she was alone and she needed care. She hesitated. She thanked them earnestly for their concern. She said she had to report at the headquarters, but she will certainly meet them at their house. The next morning at 10 a.m., Leah reported at her office. They all expressed concern on her well-being and suggested that she better take rest for a few more days and better join the next month when she will be perfectly all right. She knew she needed rest, so she returned to her quarters. But in a strange country without almost any acquaintances, it was very difficult to take rest. She thought about it and made up her mind to see Aryan. That very evening, Leah came to see them. They were too glad to see her, to say the least. She felt she landed in a sports club. Whichever way she looked, there were medals, trophies, mementos, and so on. When she stood in the middle of the hall, Aryan's mother very strangely kept staring at her. There was something in her appearance that she could not take her eyes off her. Apart from the face, they were exact replicas of each other in physical structure. It was a very spacious house. At the same time, it was beautifully decorated and maintained. Evidently, these people are preoccupied with sports. But none of the pictures even remotely resembled Aryan's. Rather, almost half of the pictures were of his mother with trophies, and the gentleman must be his father. The gentleman was home back from his office, and he was also happy to see Leah there. She found a warm, homely atmosphere after a very long time. Let me quickly tell you, this was Mr. Anand, and the lady, his wife, was Karuna.